G'day folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a very quick video on the fuel tank in the D-Max. Now I haven't done a modifications type video to the D-Max, and I truly believe that the modifications on the D-Max make it one of the better overlanding vehicles that you can put on the road. So I will do that, but today it's just about the fuel tank. If you get something out of this video, make sure you use that thumbs up button. That helps the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe for future videos, and if you're interested in supporting the channel, in the description below there's a Patreon link. Click on that and follow the bouncing ball. Righto, the fuel tank. As you can see here, we start off rocked up at ARB at Moray Field. They did an exceptional job, so happy to give them a bit of a plug. I paid full price. There is no sponsorship or anything like that here. I phoned them, I got a quote. I phoned another couple of companies, I got a quote. They weren't the cheapest, they weren't the closest, but they did spend the time to explain what I needed and why I needed it. And you've got to give them some credit for that. So that's where I went to get my new fuel tank. So after a short wait, they take the truck around the back and they put it on the hoist. They get it up, and it's time to have a look at the new tank and pull the old tank out. Now the old tank was a 78 litre tank. I think it's a 78 litre tank, comes standard in the D-Max, 2017 model. So 78 litre tank, that's the old tank. It gets ripped out and completely replaced with a 145 litre tank. It's a poly tank that ARB supplied. There's ARB stickers on it. I'm not sure whether ARB are responsible for making it. I'm sure they're not. But it was their tank. So we'll start off by having a look at the fixtures or the fittings for the fuel tank. This is the fittings for the new fuel tank. You'll see the two bigger brackets. They're basically the hold-in brackets, what stops it from falling out while we're traveling down the road. And the longer hose is a fuel hose for the breather. The shorter hose, you can see the shorter hose in the top left hand corner. That shorter hose is an equalizing hose that runs between the front of the tank and the next stage back, because they're the same height with a mounting space in the middle. There needs to be an equalizer so the air can get out into the main body of the tank while the fuel fills up that front part of the tank. That is a little bit of an issue when you're filling up. If you rush fill it, you can rush fill it to about 120 litres, 125 litres. Once it gets to about between that 120 and 125 litres, it'll click off. Now if you wait 20 seconds and give the air time to equalise between the front part of that top tank and the rest of the tank, you'll get another 4 or 5 or 6 litres in before you need to go in and pay for it. That's if you're interested in absolutely getting the max out of your tank. This next clip is the actual tank that's going into the D-Max. It doesn't look that much bigger than the old tank when you're looking at it on video. When you're actually standing in front of it, you can see it is so much more bulky than the other tank. And it would need to be, obviously, you're going from 78 litres up to 145 litres. A quick pic of the old tank before we get on and have a look at the two tanks sitting side by side. These are the two tanks sitting side by side. You can see on this angle, you've got that little cliff, that little shelf that comes out on the left side of the tank as we're looking at it. That doesn't exist on the other tank, and there's a lot of fuel that'll fit in there that won't be on the other tank. The tank's also longer, and it's definitely deeper, or a higher tank. The old sender, the one that comes out of the tank that came out of the car, the original sender, that's basically your fuel gauge as well. It's going back in the new tank. So with my model D-Max, the fuel gauge is able to tell me how many kilometres left before it runs out of fuel. That's completely inaccurate with the bigger tank, because the actual gauge is the same gauge, and it with the computer, I guess, suspects that the fuel tank is still a 78 litre tank, not a 145 litre tank. But the actual fuel gauge that goes up and down, that's perfectly fine, and you can see whether it's full, half full, or quarter full. So the video now we've moved into, they've fitted it. They had to raise the tray just a little tiny bit because of the height of the tank. So they put spacers in around the tray, only about 10 mil, might have been 15 mil. So the spacers are in, the tank's in, and it all looks good. As you can see, the strap's on. It's very difficult to get the camera in so that you can see where the hoses are. but you can see that it fits quite nicely, and it doesn't sit a whole lot lower than the original tank. It definitely does sit a little lower, but not a lot. As we bring this video to an end, one thing I can say about a long-range fuel tank, or a fuel tank that takes a wad more fuel than the actual original tank, is that it opens you up to be able to do the sort of trips. Like we did a Hellhole Gorge trip where from Addervale to Hellhole Gorge and back, plus the running around we did between 550 and 600 kilometres without seeing a fuel station. And a long-range tank allows you to be able to do those without even thinking twice. Whereas if you had your normal original tank, you'd be scratching your head and thinking, well, I probably should take a jerry with me, even though you may just make it on the original tank with a trip like that. Next year we're doing a Simpson trip, and on the Simpson trip it'll be invaluable. We've got 700 kilometres on the Madigan line that we're going to do, roughly 750 kilometres in between fuel stops, and that's all over soft sand and sand dunes. And on the bottom half of the Simpson trip, because we're doing a circle, the bottom half is about 560 kilometres. Even that will use a significant amount of fuel. That brings us to the end of another video. Thank you very much for watching. I would like you to put that press that like tab or thumbs up tab for me. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already to support the channel. The Patreon link in the description below, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.